On the tube on the way back home, saw an advert for a book about a woman who works in a funeral home. She went into work one day, she goes to work on a body, she takes the sheet off of one of the bodies, and it looks exactly like her. This is called a doppelganger.
What's a doppelganger to you?
It's the thing I read about ages ago where someone was walking down the street.
Yeah, and he sees someone who looked a bit like him.
And no, this was weirder than that.
Go on.
He remembers, like, going down that street as a kid on his bike, whistling.
Yeah.
And then he's walking down the street, going out to get some milk or whatever from the shop. Little bike comes whizzing past. He hears the whistling, he goes, that's weird. Looks at it, it was him when he was a kid. So it's like a time.
Shit. What do you mean it was him as a kid?
This is like a different form of doppelganger. It's just
Well, it's impossible. It's rubbish.
some sort of time thing, isn't it?
No, it's not. That's impossible. So don't worry
Some
about
kind
it.
of time thing, Rick. No.
Yeah, it's
just
something
some
you
kind of time
read
thing.
again on the internet, or it was a short story, or something someone told you.
On my walk back from the tube, I saw a jogger who was pushing a pram at the same time. The kid looked terrified. Got my science book out. It said that the static you get on the telly when a channel isn't tuned in properly is radiation that is still knocking about from when the Big Bang happened. I thought about the Big Bang and wondered if it was really a Big Bang, or did it just sound louder as there was no other noise to drown it out.
Good point, isn't it?
Carl's diary, Rick, never ceases to amaze. More from that next week.
Oh, well, it's that time now. Yeah? It's the big one.
Oh, chimpanzee that monkey news!
Right, there was this
Monkey?
this fella, right, who he had a problem with his eyes. Right?
Yeah.
So he goes to the doctors and he goes, oh, I've got a problem with my eyes. And he goes, yeah, they're bad then, right? He goes, it was in America, you know, like how you have to pay for medical stuff and all that.
Mm.
And the doctor said, oh, if I fix them, it's going to be like 10 grand, right?
Mm.
It's like, but I haven't got the money, doctor. He goes, well, I can't help you then. You know, there's a lot of people with bad eyes like them. Can't do anything for you. So he goes, oh, it's getting worse. I can't do anything.
God.
So anyway, so he goes home.
Is that the price of human eyes, is it?
So he goes home, he's looking in the paper, right, and he sort of sees in the adverts at the back, and there's a little advert there saying cheap doctors, right?
No, bollocks.
Oh no.
No.
So he's thinking, oh, maybe that's what I need, right? So he calls them up. Woman's there. She's like, wait, what can I do? He goes, I've got bad eyes and that. She says, oh, come in tomorrow, we'll sort them out. She's like, brilliant, I'll see you then, right? So he goes down there, and he says, right, you know, I can hardly see. My eyes have got in really bad state and what have you.
Right.
I need to have them sorted out. I don't know what you do. Whatever you do,
Right.
I need
Now,
doing.
his eyes are so bad, can he see the doctors? He can...
Not really,
Can't
sort
really-
of
he's
squinting
squinting.
and that, but, you know, so he's like, do I need to see the doctor to, you know, have a word and tell him what problem? She's like, no, don't worry about that.
Don't worry about
Just,
No, I'd be comfortable if it's a...
just you know, just let me inject you, and we'll knock you out, and we'll get on with it. And it's
on,
like,
get the
well,
doctor in.
Can I just tell you something about chimps as well, just before you continue?
Go on.
You know, they don't have opposable thumbs.
Now,
which is
why
what-
are opposable thumbs useful, Rick?
Well, to grip something, to do anything like, you know, even simple stuff like writing, so let alone surgery. So without an
But
opposable
can I just check
thumb-
now?
Go
So
on.
if I was a doctor and I was doing any form of difficult surgery, would I need opposable thumbs?
You'd need opposable thumbs
To be a doctor
And
of
without
any
you couldn't do anything. You
Th-
couldn't.
thanks for clearing that up.
Because the opposable thumb allowed something in our evolution called the precision grip.
Right.
So without that, you couldn't do anything.
I'm just glad they've got that cleared up, thanks.
So anyway, so he's had the injection, he's nodding off and what have you, right? His eyes are sort of closing and that, he hears the door open, he sort of just sees this little fella come in and he's like, hello doctor, and he's trying to like make a chat with it,
Sure.
but like, he's just
It?
nodding off. No,
Just
Oh, he's
he or
never
she,
called a
was
doctor.
it he or
These,
she?
these people have done 7 years medical
Deeply
training.
respected people.
How could you call it it?
So anyway, he thought, oh, it's weird he didn't answer, but you know, doctors can be quite moody, you know, they're highly intelligent, they don't need
Especially little airy ones.
well, just idle chit-chat, there's no room for that, do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm here
Yeah,
to do
just,
a job.
it's just, yeah, but you know, if I'm going in to have my eyes done, I want a little bit of idle chimp chat.
So anyway, time passes, right? He sort of wakes up and he opens his eyes, right? And it's brilliant. He can't believe it.
Eyes are perfect?
He's had the op. He can't believe the sight. He's like, nurse, right? And the nurse comes in because I can't believe it. This is brilliant. I've never had this such good sight. Do you know what I mean? Even when I was a baby,
Yeah.
and my eyes were new,
Yeah.
I didn't see this good.
Great.
So she's like, well, you know,
You
that's
realise the nurse is a panda.
that's what we do, right? So he said, right, so can I just see the doctor and just say thanks and that? And she's like, well, to be honest, you know, he's specialised in what he does. There's a lot of
What
work.
a load of bollocks this is getting.
Please.
Where did you get this from?
No, come on, let's hear the end of the news.
There's a lot of like operations he's got to do.
Yeah.
So leave him to it. He's just having a kid. I'll let him know that you were grateful. Pay us a check. Off you go. Go and enjoy looking at stuff.
Yeah.
So he said, no, just what's wrong with that? I just want to see that. She's
No,
like,
it's
no,
fine.
leave it. Just leave.
Yeah, exactly. Leave it. If
And
he says-
he's like, yeah, but I can't. I want to thank him. So he's done such a good thing for me. So they're getting into a bit of an argument and what have you. And the voices are raising. Right. Door opens.
Going to wake the doctor up.
Well, that's what they did. They woke it up. Right.
They woke it up.
It.
So the door opens. Right. Little monkey comes out.
Oh.
And he's like, what's going on here? It's a hospital. Why is there a monkey knocking about?
Yeah.
So the woman said, well, what do you mean? He's the doctor. Right? So he's like, you are having a laugh, aren't you? She goes, look, don't complain. Your eyes are sorted.
Yeah.
The doctor's done it. What's the problem? He said, well, if I'd have known that, I wouldn't have come here. She said, well, what do you mean you didn't know that? She said, the advert in the paper you read, it said, like, chimp doctors.
That is the biggest load of shit I've ever heard. That really is the worst.
What? And because his eyes were so bad, he thought it said cheap doctors.
He saw the advert and it said chimp doctors, but because his eyes were bad, he just saw it.
What journal is this in?
It was years ago, because it sort of says how the monkey sort of carried on working for a few years. He couldn't do anything
Then
about
just
it. He had to
retired to
leave
play
it.
golf.
It's absolute bollocks.
It's
There's
right.
no way. I mean, it's not even worth talking about.
So-
It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
It's the most ridiculous monkey news we've ever heard, and that's saying something.
Chimp doctors, cheap. It's easy mistake.
Well, that's the end of another podcast. That's week 11. We've got one more to go next week. So go to rickygervais.com, see some of the things we've been talking about, register, so we can let you know what's happening when we're back.
Who hosted this podcast?
It was the great guys at Positive Internet who host the world's #1 podcast, The Ricky Gervais Show, with me, Ricky Gervais, Stephen Merchant,
Bye-bye.
and Karl Pilkington. Hi, Ricky Gervais here, with me, Stephen Merchant.
Hello.
And Karl Pilkington.
All right.
Welcome to the final episode in our series of 12 podcasts. I say final, it's final of 12, but we may be carrying on.
Go on.
Well, next week we're going to try and do another one to continue this for at least a little while. We may have to charge a small fee for it because it'll cost us money, and Karl is unemployed, but we mean a real tiny little fee. But hopefully we'll be back next week. Now, we're not sure where it'll be. It'll probably be on iTunes, but just go to rickygervais.com and we'll guide you there. Hurrah!
Yay!
And thanks for listening for this long and supporting us. I hope you continue to support us. Go on, continue to support us.
Yeah, particularly Carl, who has no money whatsoever and is desperate. He's a desperate man. Is that right,
There's no
Carl?
one out there going, oh, look, they're charging for it now. But, people forget we gave 12 for free.
This is it. So quickly people forget.
We're big shots.
Yeah.
Well, Carl's not, but, we are, aren't we?
Exactly. I mean, we were generous, but we're not that generous.
We're not mad, and Carl needs a little bit of money. Look at his little round little head. He's like little tiny Tim over there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Look at him sitting there. Carl, you've had a good week?
It's been all right, yeah.
Brilliant.
Well,
More of that next week. You have to, but you'll have to pay for it now. I'm surprised you're not buzzing, because we just had our photograph taken to enter the Guinness Book of Records for the greatest downloaded podcast of all time. We went along to the Guardian, and the press were there, and they took a little picture of his round head, didn't they?
Yeah, but I don't know why should I be excited about it when it's just.
Have you always wanted to be in the Guinness World of Records?
Not really, no.
I've been looking at the they presented us with the this year's, and I've been looking through it, and there's some fascinating ones. I used to get
but
this as a kid.
that's what I'm saying though. There's loads of things in there that I used to go to. Like I looked at it online the other day to see if what's on there. You click on it, the home page that you get when you click on Guinness Book of Records. It's a fellow with the most ear hair, right? It looks amazing. So that, to me, is what the Guinness Book of Records is about.
Sorry, you're impressed with the bloke who just happens to have the most ear hair?
No, but it's commitment. He could have shaved it off, but he didn't. He left it.
Yeah,
no, it's less commitment.
But that just grew. We actually bothered to do a podcast.
All right, forget that then. The one with the rings on the neck where they stretch the neck so their head's tall. That's commitment. If that didn't work out, he's stuck with that head, and he didn't even get in the book.
You're stuck with that head, and you have got in the book, so be happy. What if it's a stitch-up? What if you're under roundest head?
I'd be a bit annoyed.
Why?
Just because I don't... I mean, have you got a choice? Say, like, the fella with, the small man. Say if he's not happy about being small, He's trying to go about his life. He knows people are looking at him, pointing at him, going, look at him, he's tiny. But does he want to be in the book?
Oh, I think they've got to give their consent.
Have they?
Because if the smallest wasn't willing to be in there, they'd go, the second smallest man is so-and-so, he was willing to be in here.
Yeah, but the smallest one is Frank, and he didn't want to do it. So again, he's in it without wanting to be in it.
No, but I don't know.
He's got you there, Rick.
I don't know if they do. I don't know if they go around. I think that you'd have to be complicit in it for them to measure your head and say this is the roundest head on the planet Earth. Not, you know what I mean?
But then what do I do with that? That's what I'm saying. Is it something you put on a CV? I don't see the point in it.
Well, I think you are the fellow with the roundest head, and I think a lot of people know that. Because also, I've noticed when people ask for a picture of you, they don't say, can I have a signed picture of Carl? They say, can I have a signed picture of Carl's head? Which is a weird thing to say about a human being, isn't it? They go, look at his head. Look at his head, not look at his face. Or can I have a picture of him? They say, can I have a picture of... Have you got a picture of Carl's head? Why are they allowed to mention that?
And the thing is, like, we're on some sort of broadcasting medium where you don't even see my head, so it's not important.
Well, I can't see your head because the mic's perfectly round and it obliterates it out like an eclipse.
But what I mean is, it doesn't matter, does it? For doing what I do, it doesn't interfere in any shape or form.
But the thing is, Carl, what people are fascinated with, and I've said it before, you've got a head like a fucking orange.
We'll be charging for more information like that from next week. We do, of course, Rick, every week get thousands of emails. I mean, it's crazy. It takes us ages to go through them and read them. And we are going through them, we are reading them. Freddie Gerstrom from Winchester says, of course, it was recently Valentine's Day. What's the most romantic thing that you've done for Suzanne, Carl, that you can think of?
I don't really do all that.
Sure.
The Valentine's Day stuff.
It's just... The problem is, if you do it once, they expect it every year.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's the problem with Christmas and stuff, innit? It's like, it's become, that's what you do now, every year.
Every day, yeah.
So I prefer to just sort of wait, you know what I mean? And you know, if I think of an idea or I know something that she wants, I might get her something, but I might not do it on Valentine's Day. It's that thing, it's like how I've said about Pancake Tuesday. Make it Pancake Wednesday. Have it when you want. Why am I waiting? Why am I waiting for someone to tell me when I can have a pancake? I'll have it today if I want one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas Pancake Tuesday, no, I won't bother. I'll have trifle. So it's the same with this, you know, with Suzanne. Luckily, right? I mean, Valentine's Day and what have you, she was ill.
Luckily.
So we didn't have to go out. So I'd say, is he asking for advice?
Well, I suppose, yeah, certainly you may as well give it.
Treat them when they deserve it.
All right.
I remember once when Suzanne was ill, she had a fever, but there was no food in the house. What did you suggest to her? She was too ill.
Well, it was when we were still living in Manchester and that, and you know, we needed to get some food in for tea and stuff. And I said, come to the supermarket. She was like, no, I'm ill, you go. And I hate buying food. I just sort of get a bit blank when I'm looking at it. There's too much, isn't there? That's the problem. You go down all these aisles and there's just too much. So anyway, I said, no, come with me. She was like, oh, but I've got this fever, I'm hot and everything. So I said, well, come to the supermarket, you go on the frozen aisle, cool yourself down. And she did, and she said, you know, it made it worse, she was ill for another 3 days, but...
How would you go about chatting up a woman in a bar? What tips could you give?
I've never worked like that. It's always been like a friend of a friend and all that, and just happened to meet them. And then, you know, you have a chat, and then...
How did you meet Suzanne?
That was when I was working with her, and she gave me 20p for the hot chocolate machine. She never asked for it back. Thought she's all right. Been there sort of 11 years, so it works.
Has she ever given you that? You've never given that 20p
Never
back?
asked for it back.
Did you return the favour, perhaps on the next date? You buy her a Kit Kat or something?
No, I don't think I did. I think word got out that she liked me and that. And what did I do? I think I did some work for her. I did some editing for her to sort of show off my skills and that.
Sure.
And she was like, "Oh, you're good at this, aren't you?" I was like, "Yeah." And I think she got us another drink because I was doing that editing for her in my own time.
So you're up on the deal, aren't you? Because I know now, I know for a fact you've not spent any money on her in 11 years. So you're 40p up.
At least. Lawrence from New York says, I was wondering how Mr. K. Pilkington would interpret this famous saying of philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein. The quote is, if a lion could talk, we could not understand him.
Even if he's English.
Yeah, if a lion could speak English, so there's no language barrier, he's speaking English words and using all the correct grammar and everything, but you wouldn't be able to understand what he was saying.
Why?
Because it is from a different world. His frames of reference would be so bizarre that you wouldn't be able to get a grasp on what he was talking about, because you'd have so little in common, even if he used real words.
No, but he's talking English.
Yeah, no, but his reference points would be just so far removed. You know, they're removed slightly when, if you saw two people talking about Kierkegaard, you'd
I
hear...
wouldn't understand it.
Exactly. So remove that 1 billion times to a different species with different input.
No, but it depends. If I'm talking to a lion in London Zoo,
Yeah.
he'll be saying, "Oh, I'm fed up of being stuck in here." I'll go, "Yeah." It's like that. It depends what his background is. I mean, there's some people who might have lived down the road from me, but have a totally different life.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't matter that it's a lion, does it?
Well, yeah, because they're just trying to remove it even more. So now it's not just a bloke who lived a few doors away. Now it's not even a bloke. Now it's not even...
Yeah, but I'd pick something smaller, or something, a worm without a mouth. I'd go, definitely not.
What? Definitely not what?
I wouldn't be having a chat with it. I just think that a worm that's underground, what's it got to offer me? It's blind and it hasn't got a mouth. It's not going to be a good day out with it, is what I'm saying. It's not going to have that much to say to me, even if it's English. Right?
Even if it's
And how can you tell if a worm is English? Does it wear a very tiny bowler hat?
Oh, Christ.
But do you understand?
What about a jellyfish?
No, you see, I think that's where you can say you wouldn't be able to have a good chat with them, because to me, the sea might as well be another world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In a way, I think the fish sort of have more rights than us.
What do you mean?
Just because when whoever made the world, right?
Yeah.
Say, we were just bigging up God, but if I was to have a go at him, I'd say you added too much water.
Criticism 1 to God, right?
So,
how would you have changed that? Just
more land.
Fair enough. Now, why have fish got more rights than us?
Because there's loads of them, and when you look at the amount of sea on the world, right? There's loads of that. You only have to I was in Malaga the other week, right? And you look in the sea. There's loads of different fish, and that's just in 8-foot water. If you go miles out, there's all sorts of weird fish, isn't there, with lights on them and everything. So, and there's just millions of different types.
yeah.
Now,
but why does that mean they've got more rights than us?
Just because I think, rights come in numbers, don't they? If you know what I mean. Like, if there's one of you shouting, people go, "Oh, he's an idiot, shut up," whatever. If there's loads of you shouting, they go, "Oh, best listen to them, see what they've got to say."
Right.
And that's what I mean about fish.
Yeah.
There's loads of fish.
Right.
So...
But they're not really making their voices heard, though, are they, Carl?
Yeah.
I know, because they're underwater. But what I mean is, I don't know what I mean.
Carl, right? What do you think it's like being a crab? If you could go now, your mind into a crab, what would you see? Where would you be? What would you be doing? What would you be thinking? What would you think of all the other things? The crabs you'd see, the squids you'd see. What's it like? Do you think? I want you to. It's like creative writing. Just think. Just let yourself go. Come on.
It's got to be a crab.
What do you think of a slug? What do you think would be a slug? What would you do if you were transported now into a slug? What would you do? And Suzanne, you're suddenly in the kitchen, but you're a slug, and Suzanne's sort of like there, just making tea and that. How do you let her know it's you?
It's impossible. I'd just chuck myself into the salt pot or something. No, because what do you do? I'd hate that. That would be horrible, that.
Oh, God.
Have you ever read Franz Kafka's Metamorphosis? In which a man wakes up and he's turned into a giant beetle? And that's the whole story. I think it might be of interest to you.
So what happened to him with the beetle?
Well, I don't want to ruin it for you in case you read
No,
it.
I
but
won't be
it's,
reading it. Don't worry.
He joined a pop group with 3 other people. He was brilliant.
No, it's a really wonderful book. It's a kind of almost heartbreaking because, of course, he does, like Ricky's saying, he finds it very hard then to relate to other people, even though he still has the consciousness of a human. You know, his parents, his rest of his family, they don't know how to deal with him, you know, because he's a giant beetle. He becomes a freak, he becomes an outsider. It's terrible, you know.
But hang on, though. Is he a giant beetle? Or
Yeah.
is he... Well, yeah, well, that's not going to go down well, is it? That, of course, people aren't going to like you. But if it's a normal-sized one, then you just get in with the other beetles, don't you? Whereas if you're a
But you'd be
giant...
sort
How would you do that? How would you ingratiate yourself? Right, so you're suddenly a beetle, you're Karl Pilkington, right? There's other people, they're doing their business, they're scuttling around, and you go in there, and they look at you as a new beetle. What's your first, what do you do? How do you ingratiate yourself?
Well, for a bit, I wouldn't sort of barge into their house and that. I'd wait until they're out and about, and I'd like in life, right? Sort of help them out. I don't know what beetles do all day. I've never seen one doing anything. They just seem to be going from one place to another.
Right.
I've never seen them carrying anything. I don't know what they eat. I don't know what they do. I don't know how we've got them, right? But what I mean is, I'd watch them and I'd sort of help them out. And I mean, you know, it's like going on a date or meeting a woman, isn't it?
But what if there is a
Whoa,
beetle
hang
there?
on, what do you mean? How is it like going on a date with a woman?
Well, it's like I said about Suzanne with her hot chocolate. She bought me that, and I've gone, she's all right. Right? She gets me another one before I know it. She's living with me. So,
So you're these beetles, they're scrubbing around, right? You're sort of like watching them, and then you realise that you want to mate with this female beetle. What do you do? What's your first move?
Yeah, but I don't know what beetles do I? So I don't know what you do. I don't know if you go up and go, all right. What did they do? How did they get on?
Well,
It's a different world. I don't know yet, do I? Because I haven't done it.
would you feel bad because having your own mind in this beetle, right? Would you feel bad shagging a beetle? Would you feel that was a bit sick because you've got a human mind?
Well, no, because you just close your eyes and that, wouldn't you? And go, pretend to think of something else. So, get round it that way. There's no point getting down about it because I'm stuck now as a beetle. So you've got to get on with it.
But if you're a slug, you said you'd throw yourself in the salt pot. What would you do if you're a beetle if you got depressed? And you see all the other humans.
No,
you see
but-
your mates, right? They're listening to the iPod. What would you do?
But no, that's what I'm saying. No, beetles are different because they do tend to hang about with each other. A slug's always on its own. It's a lonely insect, isn't it?
It's not an insect.
All right, what is it?
A mollusk.
Right, they're lonely. I've never seen a load of snails all together or slugs wandering about. Whereas beetles seem to knock about in crowds.
Yeah.
So, oh God. Okay, right, another one.
So they're sociable creatures, and it wouldn't bother you that you've got the mind of Karl Pilkington in there? Because you can't communicate with these people,
what if
because
you're
they
a-
don't speak English, they don't have any communication with you.
Yeah, but if it's happened to me, there'll be another one in there.
Okay then. Right. Okay. What would you do? Right. That's the most disgusting thing. What could it be? Right. What would you do? Right. If you were suddenly a fly, right, and you were knocking around with the flies, right, and you had to land on some,
Excrement?
yeah. What would you do?
Yeah, but I don't have to.
What do you mean? You're a fly. You're
Yeah, but
loving
I
it.
wouldn't. No, I wouldn't be loving it, though, would I?
Why?
Because I'm me in that fly's head. So I don't think other flies would be going, come on, join in. I'd just be like, no, I'll wait here, wait, watch and that. Because I don't see why they have to do that.
What would you do, right, if you had to go back and you were in a, had to go put your mind in like the, an unhatched egg of something, like maybe one of those, that a wasp was injected in a spider. So you know you're in an egg, right, which is really uncomfortable, in a spider. How would you feel about that, Karl? You're a baby wasp in the abdomen of a spider.
And I know everything that I know now. I'm sat in there.
Yeah. And now I'm in a spider as an unborn wasp. What the fuck am I doing here? What's going on?
I don't know what I'll do there. Probably try and sleep. There's nothing else to do, though, is there?
I just pray to God it never happens.
I don't believe that he's written it down.
Well, that's the jingle that signals it's time for more extracts from Karl's diary, and we'll lunge straight into it. Wandered down Carnaby Street. There was a happy homeless fella. I gave him £1.50. I thought of a tongue twister after giving him the money. It goes, if you can't treat a cheerful tramp, what sort of tramp can you treat?
It's good, that.
All
Say
right.
it fast.
If you can't treat a cheerful tramp, what sort of tramp can you treat?
Good, isn't it?
Good, that, yeah. You've got too much time on your hands, Carl.
Learned some famous quotes to see if they are as good as my sayings. Number 1, treat every day as if it's your last. Very famous saying. Now, is that something you do, Carl?
But you know, me problem with that one is that if it was your last, you wouldn't want to be doing much. That's the only problem I've got with that. I wouldn't want to, you know, go to a fairground or whatever because you're going, oh, it's my last day, what am I going to do? And I think you'd spend so much time worrying about what you're going to do that you'd end up staying in.
I think you're right. You've taken some of the poetry out of it. I think it means live life to the fullest, right?
I like the fact that you were musing on the idea that if it was your last day, you'd go to the fair. It's getting such a 19th century way of spending your final day.
I know, yeah. Well, the thing is, the other thing is that the only thing that people get depressed about in terms of sort of like you know, life and death is not the knowledge that they're gonna die, but more the knowledge that they know they're going to die when they're dying. If someone told you, no one ever knows when they're going to die, no one ever gets an illness, no one ever gets hit by a truck, everyone passes away peacefully in their sleep, dreaming they're riding a big marshmallow, right? Then you wouldn't care about anything. It wouldn't matter when. It wouldn't matter if you died tomorrow or in 30 years' time. You'd just live life to the full. You'd have it, every day would be great. You'd go out, you'd come back, you'd fall asleep. That would be amazing. There'd be no stress. There'd be no angsty, we're all going to die stress, because it wouldn't matter, because it would just be your life. Wouldn't it be amazing if someone guaranteed you, Carl, you're going to die in your sleep? I'm not going to tell you when.
Yeah, but some people do, don't they?
Well, exactly.
Yeah,
but we
I
never
want
know
that.
we're going to, because we stress. What if we get a dreadful illness? What if we, you know...
But we're almost not letting people die naturally anymore, are we? Because we're always bodging stuff up.
What do you mean?
Well, someone who might naturally die in the sleep aren't allowed to naturally die in the sleep because they wake them up with those electric things and get them going again and pop in a new lung or whatever whilst they're at it. That's what I'm saying. They don't just... You never hear it anymore, do you? Frank peacefully died in his sleep. No, he died on the operating table whilst we were putting in a new lung. They don't die naturally anymore.
Frank died peacefully with 40,000 volts going through them and a couple of people going, clear! Clear!
Rushing about today. Got to get a lot done as I'm flying to Malaga tomorrow to see my mum and dad. Don't like flying. I'd be happy if they give you a parachute instead of a life jacket. They say Da Vinci invented the parachute as well as the helicopter. He never got round to making them though, because he only drew them on some paper. Got up at 5 AM as I had to get to Heathrow to get on the plane to see mum and dad in Malaga. Went out for a drink with a cousin who lives in Spain. Ain't seen her for 27 years. Oh, that must have been tricky, making conversation.
I didn't really bother. Because where do you start? I might as well go up to anyone in the street and start having a chat.
Yeah, you have to go further back than, did you want Chantal to win Big Brother?
Yeah. Me dad and me talked about history. I said we shouldn't go on about things that happened ages ago because I bet something similar has happened more recently.
Brilliant.
Read about an island in the Indian Ocean where there are tribesmen still living like they're cavemen. A helicopter tried to land and the tribesmen chucked spears at them. This is what I meant about not having to talk about things that happened ages ago. We have got new cavemen now, so why do we talk about the old ones? People could have lived before, but computers and all that blew up and books got burnt, so all they had left was what these tribesmen have got left.
Ramblings
And that's
of
the
a
ramblings
madman.
of a maniac.
That
I mean,
is,
that's just a few hours before you go crazy with a gun in there.
No, but what I mean there is, right, say if all this has happened before, right, podcasting's been happening years ago, something happens.
Again, a lot of information from the Planet of the Apes.
Something happens, world ends, right, we come back again somehow.
Yeah. It's the detail you leave out that makes you intriguing. Just like the watch that you can wear that tells you when you're going to die. How does it work? Pop it on your wrist. That's all the detail you need. So the world happened.
No.
We came back. We.
Have you seen the pictures Forget it then if you don't get it.
It's interesting that you had all those profound thoughts about this period in the past when they all lived, but you still found it appropriate to include at the end of that. It says that tribesmen wave their knobs about when they've had enough of having visitors.
That's what it said in the paper. That's what happens. They're quite happy.
What paper is this that you're reading?
It was in like a paper a couple of days ago. It said they don't mind having visitors if they're bringing them coconuts and stuff that they can eat. Once they've got everything they need, they start waving the tackle about, and that means like, right, leave now. Which you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah, at a dinner party.
My grandfather used to do that.
Well now, what have we here? I'm here to tell you all about Friday night comedy on Channel 4. There's 3 great comedies. Green Wing, It's Nearly Ready, My Name is Earl, and The It Crowd. The great new comedy from the creator of Father Ted. And what have we here? Jingle, jangle, jingle, jangle as it happens. Friday night comedy, this Friday on Channel 4. Switch it on. Now then, well now, the young man. Well now then, well now then, young man.
Oh, did fancy that monkey news, you
That jingle is getting more annoyed by the week.
Well, this is the final monkey news, right? I'm not doing this anymore, right? Because we've covered it all.
All the monkey news has been covered?
It has. We've done loads of them. I think all the news that needs to be sort of known has been told, right?
That is the end of the news. Jesus Christ.
What?
Get on with it.
Right, do you know, in the first podcast that we did, we chatted about the monkey that went into space and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So where we left
So
it...
haven't you got a new monkey news?
Well, it's an update, isn't it? I mean,
Is
all
it new? Has
No,
it happened recently? Has it happened since podcast 1?
I have to pick Ricky up on the point that he thinks any of the monkey news we've heard, A, happened, and B, happened recently. It almost always happened in olden times, or ages ago.
Oh, you're right. It never happened.
Right, anyway. So, like I say, the first monkey news, it was about this monkey that went into space.
This was the one that was fed by bananas that came out of a little chute on the spacecraft.
Yeah, it went up there, did a really good job. It was taught how to press the buttons, hit the left button for a banana, you know.
Right button to
go right.
Make history and go,
Go
into
right and
space.
stuff. Right,
What do I want? Not more banana. You haven't taken off yet? More banana. Oh, we shouldn't have given him a choice of banana or a change history. We should have the right button. We should have fed him before he went and only had a right button. He's at the left button again. He's just eating bananas up there. What's going on?
It's costing us a fortune!
Hey, little fucker. Press the right button and do something. Oh, bananas. Hey, you hit the left button again, the little fucker.
so anyway, yeah, I told you, he went up there, he came back, he could never get that
The high,
high
exactly,
again.
yeah.
You know what I mean? He tried other things. I think he tried to get a band together and that. Right, so anyway, there was loads of monkeys that were signed up to this NASA program, and it was 1961 when this little monkey called Ham, that was his name, so a bit of an update, that's the same one as I talked about, his
Right.
name was Ham. As well as him, there was one called Enos. He went round the world loads of times. So anyway, what I found out about it since then, Ham went up there, did the left-right business with the bananas. Enos, they didn't put as much work into the trip when he went up there, and something went wrong with the machinery. And do you know how you get a banana for the left button and all that?
It's official now. There's 2 buttons in this spaceship. Banana dispenser and everything else. The right button is everything else.
But it worked the other way. The machinery went weird,
Oh no, really?
so it meant that the right button would give him a banana.
Right.
The left button did everything else.
Oh no.
How did
So
that, how
what-
did
so
that
what
happen
had been
though?
taught-
What?
This is the problem with electronics, isn't it?
Well, no, I don't see
No,
how
this,
that's- I don't
apparently
see
this
how
is the problem.
But the good I mean, honestly, look it up if you want. This is all online, by the
So
way.
what happened when it all went haywire? What occurred?
Luckily,
Carl, this is online and it's bollocks.
luckily, Enos, because he'd done a few trips,
Right, he
so
was
he was like,
experienced.
well, I know this isn't right. As much as I love bananas, this isn't right.
That
so-
was his thinking, of course it was.
So anyway, so he came back. They were all like over the moon with him.
He
you
said,
know,
I
going,
can't work with these conditions.
good mission and everything. Well done on working it out. He sorted all that out. It moved on a few years. Armstrong's gone up there. Buzz and that other fella, they've been up there. The monkeys aren't needed anymore. But they were like, we've got all these monkeys who have done NASA training. What are we going to do with them all? And they had to raise £14 million to make them like an old sort of chimps home for retired
Retired NASA-trained monkeys.
chimpanauts. Something they've got in there is like a little museum, right, of all the missions and that they've been on, so they can sort of, even though they're not going to be going into space again, they can almost relive it and reminisce of the times that they've had. And
They're reminiscing with each other, are they?
just sort of going,
chatting
oh,
about the
remember
old
that time when it all went wrong, the button became the left when it should have been the right and all the rest of it. They just, sort
Talking
of
about old times,
talking about old times and what have you, like old people like to do.
Sure.
And yeah, that's it. So if you want to like give some money towards their home, you can go to like savethechimps.org, and it's all there. All that information that I've given you, it's all there. You can.
I'd be surprised if all the information you've given us is there.
It's all there.
I'd be very surprised.
It's all there. Just retired, monkeys and that who've done the bit.
Perhaps we should retire Monkey News to that same place.
That's what I mean. So, I hope you've enjoyed the monkey news and that. That was the last one. Look after the monkeys. Do your bit, because they've done their bit. That's it, yeah. But just because I'm not giving the news, look it up. Do you know what I mean? It's all out there. Don't be ignorant.
Wise words.
Carl needs your money. If you could see what I see now, he's just looking at me with this. He just needs stuff, don't you, Carl? What do you need? What do you need?
Just something more than nothing.
For information on the archive of the podcasts, these last 12 shows, and for the new podcasts to come, go to rickygervais.com. You can register there. We'll send out loads of information. Plus, you'll just find out links to how to get all this stuff that we're offering out there. There's also a free taster if you just can't wait for more of Carl's nonsense. Make sure, please, that you register your email and everything so we can get in touch and just tell you what's going to happen with the Ricky Gervais Show, with Carl's Mind, and with everything else. rickygervais.com. Go there. Makes perfect sense.
It's the end of an era, but the start of a new one. It's almost seamless in a way, isn't it? The end and the beginning. But Carl, what do you think about that? How things end and new things begin?
Well, I suppose you've got to have an end for a beginning, so it's just a bit odd that we've got an end and having a beginning. But that's science for you.
Hello, and welcome back to the first in the third series of the Ricky Gervais Show, with me, Ricky Gervais, Stephen Merchant.
Hello there.
And the fool, the round-headed buffoon that is Karl Pilkington.
Alright.
We've been away filming our second series of extras, leaving Karl to his own devices in a sweltering London. We've had a heat wave here in the capital city, haven't we, Karl?
It's been alright.
It's been up to 100 degrees, record-breaking temperatures.
Yeah.
What have you been doing, though?
Sort of enjoyed it a little bit. Was out and about.
Yeah?
Getting to see the place, having loads of walks and that. I like to have walks. Watching what
Like a
people are doing.
dog.
Yeah! When he jumps off the couch and starts scratching against the door.
Suzanne thinks it's time.
It's just good thinking time, though, isn't it? As well, having a walk. You've got no other clutter going on around you. And you just think about a lot of stuff. And, like say, with the weather being hot and stuff, a lot of insects knocking about.
Right.
So I've just been watching them.
So while we've been filming a TV show, you've been watching insects?
Yeah, just seeing, because everybody knows insects are out there, but no one's keeping an eye on them.
What are they up to? What are you worried about?
Loads of Steve, you wouldn't be laughing like that if you'd watch them, because they do some weird stuff and that, is what I mean.
What sort of stuff? Any examples?
I saw a bee have a heart attack.
You saw a bee have a heart attack.
Yeah.
How were you sure it was a heart attack?
Because what happened, I'd been...
Did it clutch its chest with all 6 legs?
No,
Were there some other little bee paramedics?
No, I'd just been out in the park anyway, just looking at, caterpillars knocking about, butterflies and stuff, so I was sort of aware.
So when Suzanne goes to work, she goes, Karl, don't you waste the day. Just because you don't work at the radio station anymore, I want you to do some constructive stuff. And you go, yeah, I am, yeah. And so in your head suddenly goes... and he goes out, oh, there's a moth.
But the thing is, so I'd been in the park and I was aware of the insects that are around us more than, like, most of the time. And I come out of the park, just crossing, like, sort of a busy road and what have you, and I saw this bee to the right of me, sort of in the air, and it was a big one, and I was a bit like, oh, let's watch that. And It just fell. It fell from the air in front of me, and it was on the pavement. And I thought, oh, what's going on here? And I looked at it for a bit, and it was really still. Gave it a little kick, just to see if there was any movement. Nothing. Stone sort of, what's the saying? Stone cold dead.
Yeah, stone cold be dead.
So
Yeah.
that
I like
was,
the fact that this bee suddenly saw Carl and had a heart attack.
Yeah.
It'd never seen anything that round before.
Yeah.
It just thought, it had approached him because he thought it was a sunflower.
My God, it's a giant walking orange. Every dream has come true. Oh!
no, but it just summed up life for me. I thought that's like us, isn't it? At the end of the day, they have heart attacks, stress.
You put it down to stress, do you?
Well, it's in London, isn't it? You know, everything has stresses from living here.
And they are bald, aren't they? They've got fur all over, but they lose the...
And always overweight.
It was a fat, bald bee.
So what did you? It fell to the floor, and you instantly just kicked it. You didn't attempt
No, I
to
waited
revive
a second and just looked at it to see if there was any, leg movement or wing, and there was nothing. And then when I sort of kicked it, it was sort of hard. It had hardened already. It's just
Rigor mortis had
rigor mortis had set in.
Did it put you in a bad mood for the day? Because I know things like that can just send you over the edge for the day.
Death and that does a bit. Suzanne doesn't like me talking about death.
What riveting conversations do you come up with?
No, just things like one of our mates has had a baby recently, and I just was saying, oh, when that's sort of our age, we'll nearly be dead.
Think of that.
That's the first thing he says. There's a new life brought into the world.
I know.
But when he's our age, we'll be dead.
Yeah.
No, it's
Maybe
weird.
they'll let you do the speech at the christening.
Yeah, it's just, so like I say, just insect life and that, it's interesting.
You say it's interesting, but do you care about really finding out about them? Do you really care about what bees do or ants do? You look at them and you make up your own world. For example, it had a heart attack, it's stress, it's overweight. You know nothing. I could probably, why don't you look something up? Honeybees are fascinating. Honeybees, they've been around making honey for 100 million years. It's incredible. Their wings beat over 11,000 times a minute.
And he's thinking, no wonder I had a heart attack.
Yeah, exactly. But they're do you know bees, like ants, are actually like specialised wasps. They're sort of developed from the same
Family.
Family,
like.
Well, yeah.
Doesn't surprise me.
Doesn't surprise you, though. Does it interest you in any way?
Well, everything's linked to something, isn't it? It's like how they say away from monkeys and that.
Yeah.
It's all the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I've been watching loads of stuff. I've been watching ants. You mentioned ants. I've had a lot of moths in the house. They're sort of sad.
I mean, you say it like it was a garden party.
No,
Yeah.
it's just all these things. You look at them. I mean, you go into the scientific bit saying, it likes honey or whatever.
It doesn't like honey. The reason they store honey is to get them through the winter when there's not like nectar, or nectar's hard to get, and they store it. And they store too much, which is why we can skim a little bit off the top. We're like agents.
Yeah, well, but all I'm saying is I look at more about what its life is like. As
Well, no,
opposed
you
to...
don't. You don't. You guess. You make it up. You don't look into it at all.
No, but you can. A bit of guesswork is you're pretty close to the truth most of the time.
Why? What do you mean? That statement sums you up. A bit of guesswork is pretty close to the truth.
Because if you watch something long enough, is what I'm saying, you can see that it's a bit clueless. It's the same way about ants, or they're hard workers and all that. I watch one; it's going back and forth all the time. They go one way and then they stop and go the other way. They try to look busy in front of the mates, but if you watch one long enough, it's back and forwards, and it's like it's done nothing there.
I'm going to carry this twig back and forth until I can knock off at 4.
There's a lot of that going on.
Is there?
Because there's not. There's none of that going on.
There is. No, like I say, the moth, depressing little sort of thing.
Why is it depressing?
Just the way it hasn't got eyes, has it? You just look at it, it doesn't know what's going on. I just don't. I think if you haven't got eyes, you shouldn't have wings.
That's a rule. If we could put that into practice, please.
That's a great rule. That's a fantastic rule, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you haven't got eyes, you shouldn't have wings.
Certainly true of people thinking of becoming an air pilot.
Whilst you've been working on that, I've been travelling about a bit, just seeing the country and that. Went to Dorset, right? Nice beach there. And those huts you get like a hut on the beach, and
Oh, where you get changed.
you can get changed in it. But they're better than that. It's like you can put a telly in it, sofa if you want.
Oh, you don't mean the Victorian changing huts? You mean
those
like
sort of things. It's sort of bigger than that.
yeah?
And we were walking down there, and there was a really sort of big fat family in one of them. There was about 4 of them, and you could tell that they've never had a game of anything. Do you know what I mean? They just sit down there, eating ice creams, looking at the sea and what have you. And the weird thing is, the little fat kid, the youngest one, who must have been, I don't know, about 8, he was really fat to the point of you couldn't see his neck.
Yeah.
And he sat at the front of his mum and dad and his older sister. He sat there and he had a frisbee, and I thought, look, they don't want to play with him. I mean, that's an active game to play, isn't it?
Yeah.
Frisbee. As we got closer, he was just using it to eat Maltesers out of. I just thought, even again, you know, the one active thing he's got, he's using it to eat out of.
Yeah. Extraordinary.
And that just sums up what people are like now when it comes to keeping fit and activities.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Were you sporty, Rick?
I was, yeah. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Were you good at it?
I was good at some things. Was never good at rugby. Never good at cricket. Was all right at football. But those things were the more competitive things that were scary. So at my school, when you're surrounded by, like, people who the fun is hurting someone.
Well, it's weird you say it, because I remember the first day I went to play cricket, my mum said, as I was leaving, I was really excited about playing cricket, she went, be careful. I was walking across a playing field once, a cricket ball hit me on the head, I was unconscious for 2 hours. Freaked me out. On the way to play cricket, I thought, okay, always scared of the ball, because it's obviously, as you say, rock solid. I remember a couple of seasons later, I had to play rugby for the first time. As I was leaving the house, she went, be careful with rugby. I knew a kid once broke his back playing it.
I was terrified of rugby.
I mean,
I was terrified of
scared.
rugby.
Such a scary
The
game.
ball came to me, I got rid of it immediately.
It's mental.
Yeah.
I don't understand. What I remember is, I remember a teacher saying you've got to play it very carefully because you can get seriously injured, you can hurt yourself, you can be crippled for life. I remember thinking, why are we allowed to still play this game at school?
I was worried about cracking heads.
Yeah.
And a finger in the eye.
How is it not banned?
That worried me all the time, a finger in the eye. Like,
But they removed the asbestos from schools in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
But rugby,
I
it's
know.
allowed to play. It's mental.
Yeah.
See, I had a mate called Mark who liked playing cricket, right? And when I used to say to my mum, oh, I want to go out with Mark and his dad to play cricket, and she never used to let me go. She'd go, oh, I prefer, you didn't. And I used to always think that, it's because it's a dangerous sport. You can get hit on the head by the ball and it's hard. Put an eye out or whatever. But it was because his dad used to drive us to the place to play cricket, and he had, his eyelids were too big. So he used to have to sort of have his head right back.
Like one of those old-fashioned dolls.
Right. They clunk back and clunk forward again.
And she didn't like me getting in a car with him.
Sorry, who is this? Whose eyelids are too big? So, growing up, you had a woman who had her head like a bag of spuds.
I didn't know her.
No, you had 2 kids at school with webbed hands and feet and big heads. Yeah. You had a pigeon chest boy.
Nowadays, you're walking around with insects and moths like something from James and the Giant Peach.
Yeah. And you had a bloke whose eyelids were too big.
One thing I've noticed, because I occasionally go to the gym, and you know those guys who work out constantly to give themselves extraordinary physiques? Just they're on the trip, they're on the weights, and they're really... I've noticed in the summer particularly, those guys cannot wait to get their shirts off.
Yeah.
Everywhere you see, they're walking around. If they've got a good torso, they are walking shirts off. Even, I think, if you go to nightclubs, I notice there's always one guy who's thinking, well, I have put so much work into this body, I have got to get my shirt off on the dance floor.
A vest, yeah.
And it comes straight off.
A brand new tattoo. I'm not covering that up.
Exactly.
I've paid a lot for it. Let's see it.
Yeah.
But that's what we were saying about bodies. I can't remember why we were talking about it. We've got to a point in science now that you can change your head. Right?
No, well, that doesn't make any sense at all.
It was a program on. It was done in the 50s or 60s where they stuck a monkey's brain on a stick and had it wired up and it still worked, right?
Right. Okay.
And that was in like the 60s or
right.
whatever.
Okay. Well,
so,
to say to change your head makes no sense at all. Because if you put a different head on a different body, you're changing the body.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's what I'm about to say to you, though.
What?
That's what I'm saying. That I'd be more confident if I had someone else's body, because if anyone dissed it, I can go, no, it's bad, innit? But it's
What
not
are you
mine.
talking about?
Well, it's like, say,
As opposed to someone else's head?
yeah. Well,
What,
it
you'd
wouldn't be
rather-
me, would it? The head is me.
Well, of course it is. That's what I mean.
yeah,
So
the
what do you
head's
mean?
me.
You'd be happier having someone else's body? What, than your own?
What I mean is, say if you're wandering about, for some reason, there's an incident. You have to take your top off and that, and everyone's looking at you, right? And you're a bit sort of, you haven't got the muscles and that, you haven't got the six-pack.
Right.
Which isn't that nice anyway. I don't know why that's become a nice thing, really, seeing the insides of you. You might as well... I mean, I know I came up with the see-through skin idea, but it's a bit weird, isn't it? You can see stuff.
No, it's the muscle in front of the...
No, it's not. Sometimes
is.
you can
It's
see...
not the-
It's
like,
not the
tubes.
outline of your
No, you
organs.
can't see tubes.
You can see tubes and veins and stuff.
Well, you can see veins.
Yeah, well, I don't want to see that. That's why we've got skin over it. Is
Well,
what
stop
I mean.
looking at naked men then.
Why
No,
you
but
keep-
sometimes you can't help it because it's been hot, and like you say, there's people walking about with vests on and that. So anyway, what I'm saying is, say if some incident happened, I'm walking about with my top off.
Right.
Girls are laughing at me, right?
Why?
Dunno, they might.
Yeah, go on. So they wouldn't look at your body, they'd all look at your head.
So what I mean is,
Yeah.
rewind that, right, and imagine all that happens again, but I've got someone else's body.
Right.
Whose body?
Just some fella who's died, and my body was injured, and they said, we've got a new body in. You can
Right.
have it. We'll
Yeah.
stick your head on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, say if
They're laughing at you.
they are
laughing at the
they're
body,
laughing
yeah.
at the body,
Yeah.
but at least I'd be able to sort of go, I know it's a mess, but it's not mine. At least I don't have to claim ownership.
So all of this extraordinary technology that can make put one head on another person's body is so you can go, it's not my body.
No.
But
it's not your own.
I'm not being funny though. So if you have a body transplant, right, and you're there, you're at home, naked, you look down,
Yeah.
lovely penis and a set of testicles,
Yeah.
right? What do you do with them?
What do you mean? What am I doing with them?
Well, do you like them?
Well, you wouldn't mess about with them as much as if they were your own.
But if you did mess about with them, would you feel guilty that you were messing about with another man's testicles and penis?
And it's the full body.
Yeah.
No, because they're not my hands either.
You're a genius! You're a fucking genius! So what you're doing is watching someone else wank.
Yeah.
Well, one thing Carl has been doing over the past few months is writing his diary. He's kept that up. I don't know what he's had to write about. All he's been doing is looking at moths and ants and bees and going for walks. But I'm sure it's all in the diary. So, let's have a look at that. Oh, I don't believe he's only going to write it down the...
We went to the park and had a brew. Suzanne read the paper while I played with a ladybird. I mean, it's like a child, isn't it? It's like what a child would do.
Suzanne read the paper while I played with the ladybird. His only friend is a beetle.
It climbed up my arm. It struggled on me hairs.
This is in detail then?
Yeah. It kept stopping every now and then and was rubbing its head with its right arm. It did it about 4 times and always used its right arm. It rested for about 5 minutes, then flew off. Sunday. Had a bit of a to-do with Suzanne because she wanted a lion today. I ate this. Once you're awake, you should get up. I got up and put the radio on really loud. She eventually got up. I told her insects don't have lions, so we shouldn't.
Why are you obsessed
I
with
mean,
insects?
you must be fucking unbearable to live with. You must be a nightmare.
No, I've just started, because I've watched insects a lot, I don't want to keep going on about them because we're a bit insect heavy. But at the end of the day, if we copied insects, we wouldn't go far wrong.
I don't know what you mean though. 1 minute you're saying they're great, then the next minute you'll slag them off.
Yeah, I'll slag some of them off if I don't know what they're doing, but because I've studied them a bit longer, I just think they do
You
it
haven't
right.
studied them though.
He thinks he's like Darwin.
But you just slagged them off again, don't you think that insects are doing stuff then? No, it
Yeah,
goes there, then
ants.
it goes back again.
The ant was messing about, but only that one. The others were carrying stuff. That's what I'm saying. There's snidey ones in everything. In everything in the world, you get a hierarchy.
Oh, long words!
Ooh. The bookshelf was dusty, so Suzanne asked me to dust it if I get a minute. I ended up looking at every book.
Just the spine. Just
Yeah.
for a few seconds each. Yeah. Didn't open them.
I looked in the dictionary to see if the word dictionary would be in the dictionary. I didn't think they would bother with it being on the front page, but it was in the book as well.
It's a good point, though, isn't it?
No, it's not a good point. Because you didn't tell us anything.
Dictionary is in the dictionary.
Well, of course it is.
Well, why? If you go, how do you spell dictionary? You look at the spine and you go, oh, there it is, D-I-C-T, and all that.
So what does dictionary mean?
It's a book full of words, isn't it?
That's what it means. All books are full of words, you idiot.
How to spell them. And if you don't know
No,
what
it's
it
not
is...
how to spell them.
All right, then, well...
I'll just look up something. No. It's not a book full of words to tell us what. No. It's the meaning.
Give us
It's
the definition of
definitive meaning.
dictionary.
It's a book full of words if you want to know what the meanings are. But if you didn't know
Well,
that...
I'm sorry, what was that sentence?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if you didn't know that, then you wouldn't be looking in it, because you wouldn't know the book is about that. So, if you don't know the word dictionary and what it means, you wouldn't be looking at the dictionary, you'd be looking at an A to Z. Because you go,
Why
oh,
leave it
there's
out,
letters.
though?
Just because there's so many words in the world, I would have thought they wanted to cram as much as they can on a page, and if dictionary is already on the front...
Is that why you suddenly used the word hierarchy for the first time ever? Did you find that in there?
Did you see hierarchy in the dictionary?
I feel
I don't know
that
where
that
that
big
was.
word has pushed out about 26 other more useful ones.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Suzanne's been going on about me learning another language. But I sort of think your brain has only got so much room on it.
And the rest of it's filled with lard.
So, if I've got to learn everything I know, again, but in a different language, it's taking up space, isn't it?
You don't learn everything. Oh, God.
It's all
What do you mean?
storage, isn't it?
But you don't have to learn it again. You don't have to learn the concepts again. You're merely
Do you know how
learning
many
vocabulary.
moves there are in the human brain? You don't worry, you won't use them all up.
I feel that he has reached his capacity, though.
Yeah. Well, you need another sort of, you need an update. You need some more memory.
Woke up to some interesting news. It's good when this happens because it sets me up for the day ahead. If it's miserable news, it affects my day. It said on the news that they have found 2 new flies.
Fucking hell, more insects! What have you done? Is that all you've done this summer?
Bong! Trouble in the Middle East. Bong! 2 new flies found.
Ladybird climbs up arm.
They were found in the UK and they were found close to each other. Maybe this happened because they were different than the other flies and weren't expected to hang about together, so that's why they knocked about with each other.
That would happen, wouldn't it?
What do you mean?
There's 2 new flies.
What do you mean? Does it mean there are 2 new flies that are a different species?
Yeah, 2 new species, and they found them close to each other, right?
Yeah,
And
but they didn't mean there was one of each.
No. Yeah, they did. They found 2 different ones.
No.
No, they have. Seriously, I know that. That's right. That's a fact. So you've got, like, I don't know the names of them. They give them odd names, don't they? Well, say
Yeah.
call it A and Fly B, right?
Yeah.
Fly A, I don't know. Say that's orange.
This is just...
B.
Lively, yeah.
No,
This is
but-
painful,
No, but
this
I'm
is
just making it
painful.
easier
But
for
5B
you.
wears a
Okay.
little hat. He's got a little hat.
Alright, yeah, fine. Now, they found the orange one. I went, look at this over here. This is a bit weird. And they've gone, oh, that's a new species. Log it, whatever. And then the other one went, oh, keep your pen handy. Look at this one, it's got a hat on. So then they found them both within the same distance.
I don't know what that sentence
Keep
means.
going, keep going, keep going.
They
No,
found
let him
them
try and
both.
finish.
They found them both within the same distance.
But without interrupting him, let him finish this point.
Let me just make one thing clear. Karl Pilkington just said they found them both within the same distance. Think of that!
Don't know what it means, but go on, let him finish this point.
So what I mean is, they weren't knocking about with other normal houseflies, because they were probably sort of going, oh, he's a bit weird. Leave it. Yet, because the other one was also odd, they're hanging about with each other. Don't you understand that? Why is that such an odd concept?
Because you think of it as like 2 little new kids in school.
Yeah.
They find out they're both new and they've got something in
Yeah,
common.
they're both goths, so they start hanging out together.
Yeah.
And this was on the news, was it?
Yeah, just on the radio, yeah.
I know if I looked into that story, it would be 90% wrong.
Bit tired today, because didn't get to sleep as early as I'd wanted due to a moth getting in the bedroom.
Fuck me.
I got it in a glass and looked at it for a bit and then let it go because Suzanne wanted to go to sleep. Looked up some interesting news. Some people dug up an old body in Ireland. Turns out it's well old and was here when dinosaurs were here. The really weird bit is it had hair gel in its hair.
Right, what is it?
Fella.
Well, no, it wasn't around when dinosaurs were here then.
Just a bit after.
Right, fine. A lot after, yeah, go on. I think any hominid, anything that could even be linked to anything that may become man, is only about 1 million years old, and I think Homo sapien is probably only about 150,000 years old. Dinosaurs are about 150 million to 250 million.
Yeah, no, it's not the age bit, that's amazing. It's the fact of, there's a fella, won't have even had shoes on his feet,
Right.
and yet he was worried about his hairstyle.
Right, well that's definitely not true either. This is unbelievable.
Well, there was a man on the radio doing poetry, says Karl in his diary. I thought I'd have a go at doing a poem about today.
Not really. Steve, I'm a little bit queasy. He hasn't really written a poem.
He's written a small poem.
No, he hasn't really.
Yes. If moths had eyes...
Fuck me!
Let me read the poem, okay?
Oh, fuck.
You wouldn't interrupt T.S. Eliot.
Okay.
Oh, okay. If moths had eyes, would they be happier? How do they know they're not dead? Cavemen hunting for food, but not before they style the hair on their head. What would last longer in dinosaur times? A blind man didn't stand a chance. Not with all them rocks about. I'd rather be a blind moth.
Right. It may be the greatest poem
Now,
ever written.
just dissecting it briefly, you attempt to rhyme in the first 4 lines, but abandon the rhyming system in the last 3. Is there a creative decision for that?
Can we have Karl read that?
By all
Sorry,
means, yeah.
just you read it as you would like to. So this is, imagine this, right? Okay, this is going out all over the world. This podcast. And now, Karl Pilkington, a new poet from Manchester, now living in London, England, would like to read a poem.
If moths had eyes, would they be happier? How do they know they're not dead? Cavemen hunting for food, but not before they style the hair on their head. What would last longer in dinosaur times? A blind man didn't stand a chance. Not with all them rocks about. I'd rather be a blind moth.
He said it as though the last bit was going to rhyme. He said it like it was going to rhyme. Oh, God.
No,
it's amazing.
I think
Karl!
I think he feels as though the final line, I'd rather be a blind moth, is going to be one of those great, a summation, that somehow the moth is a metaphor, the caveman...
No, but
there's
all
no
I'm doing-
metaphor in that. He really does mean he'd rather be a blind moth.
Yeah, well, I'm just because I've looked at the day's news.
Can we always do that, Karl? Can we always find a day, right, and always sum it up in your
in a
thoughts,
poem.
a poem? Just like that. I love that structure. I love that structure. If there's any English students or professors or novelists or poets listening, please email us what they thought of that poem, why it's good, why it's bad. So, give us your thoughts on that. I mean, we would love expert opinion, poets, English professors. Just email us at podcast@rickygervais.com. Now, Karl, apart from being a poet, you are an author now. You've written a book, which surprised me and Steve, because as Steve said, we thought you'd read a book before you actually wrote one, but you've proved us wrong, and all your teachers wrong, and everyone in the world who thinks you're an idiot. It is actually a very good book. I mean, a lot of it is transcripts from, the podcasts, but you've answered some of your critics, haven't you? And you've tried to prove some of your theories. It's everything about Karl. It is like
All the drawings.
all the drawings, there's new stories, isn't there? And there's so much effort, I can't believe it. He's been working on it for months, and it's out on the 18th of September, but you can order it now, can't you, on Amazon.com and Amazon.co.uk.
What's that book called?
It's called The World of Karl Pilkington. Well, thanks very much. Goodbye from me, Ricky Gervais. Goodbye from Stephen Merchant.
Goodbye.
And goodbye from the little hollow, egg-headed moron that is Karl Pilkington.
Right.